Hey everyone, UVA Josh 1 here. First time in a while I've done a review, so I apologize for the delay, but I'm back in action. Should be cranking out a couple reviews today. So the first review is for a piece I got about a month ago. This is the XM Phoenix statue, and this piece is quite a wow piece. The first feeling I got when I fully set it up was that it was a showstopper sort of centerpiece, and one of the things that made that crystal clear is my son woke up in the morning and saw it set up for the first time. He said, "Wow, that's awesome." So he's a pretty tough critic, so I knew that this was a winner. So let's get right into the review. This piece comes with 3 different heads, 3 different portraits. This is my favorite portrait of the group. This is sort of the Phoenix Power, intensely focused head, if you will. So I'm going to do a spin around, and I'm going to try to make this review go a little faster than my last couple, which I think have gone on for too long. So let's start with the overall piece. First of all, this has got it's got a lot of weight. This thing's pretty darn heavy. I know from the XM guys that the actual Phoenix bird, which was cast in clear resin, is solid, like as in solid, no hollow areas, and that's unusual these days. So that really adds a ton of weight to this piece, and you can really feel it when you lift it up. Now, just gonna spin around now, take a look at the base. This is sort of a sentinel, appears to be some sort of sentinel base. You can kind of see, I think that's supposed to be sentinel eye there. Really nice. And per usual, XM's done a great job with their paint, production quality packaging. I've kind of gone through the packaging on my previous video, so I saw really no need to go through it again. Same standard, awesome, heavy duty box, really good styrofoam, and everything packaged really well. That's sort of par for the course now for XM, so my future reviews, unless there's something unique about the box, I'm gonna leave that out since that's been pretty consistent. This is the back of the Phoenix bird, and again, cast in clear resin. And if you have any natural light in your home and you have this piece, it's really great to put it near that natural light, because you get a translucent effect on the bird that really is beautiful, especially in the morning. It's just a really nice thing to walk in and you see that translucency. It's truly beautiful. So I'm going to get back to the front. So I'm going to show all 3 heads in a moment, but I'm just going to talk for a moment about the assembly. It comes in several parts. You have the base, which is separate, and then you have several parts of the flame and the bird, which you have to put together. It's a little tricky doing that, and actually there have been some challenges in getting Phoenix's left boot into the flame. I actually had a problem with that in the beginning. I couldn't get it to sit flush. And as you can see, now it's sitting pretty flush on the flame, and I don't think there's going to be any issues with leaning on her. Apparently there's a rod that goes from here sort of all the way up to the hip area, so I don't think she's going to be having any leaning issues. But when you put her together, just make sure, the way I did it is you take the flames out separately. In other words, don't put her in the flame when the flame's already in the base, because it's hard to get it in that way. So what I did is I disassembled everything, took the flames out, and then put her boot directly into the flame, and then put that into the base. That worked well, and I got it to sit flush. So really beautiful piece as usual. Paint lines are spectacular and pristine. No issues with paint. It's just the finish is, as always, beautiful and smooth. It's just really, this is just a showstopper of a piece. And One thing I will say about it, it's very, very big. It's quarter scale, but with the bird, it's very, very large, and you have to accommodate for that. It's either got to sit on top of a Besta, or if you have one of the PAX systems, it may fit in there, but it's not going to fit, I don't believe, inside a traditional Besta cube, not just because of the height, but also because of the width of the Phoenix wings. And certainly you don't want to risk any chipping or damage of that while putting it in a Besta cube. So my best recommendation is either on top or separate, as I have it at the moment, on some sort of, you know, stand, furniture stand, or pedestal, assuming that you don't have any pets or run any risk of someone knocking into it. So now I'm going to point out a couple things, criticisms I have. I think this piece is gorgeous, and I'm going to give my overall ratings later. But my one criticism about the pieces are the portraits. There are 3 different portraits, and they're okay. I think they could have been better. In fact, I like the original portrait that they did with this piece, but they had to modify it based on some concerns about weight distribution, about how the bird was going to line up, etc., etc., etc. So they had to redo them with the hair. And I think the portraits could have been better, and I'll get into that in a moment. So let me just zoom in on this portrait for a sec, and then I'll put the other ones on there. Sorry, that may be a little too zoomed in. Yeah, okay. So, you know, this piece has sort of an angry, intense look to it. Again, I think there could be a little more detail in the face. I'm just not a fan of the overall face. I like a softer feminine face. That's just a personal preference. But overall, again, this is a nice portrait, and it's certainly worthy of display with this piece. Alright, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to stop for a moment. I'm going to replace this and then with one of the other portraits, and then we'll continue. Okay, back guys. This is the second portrait. This is my second favorite portrait. This is sort of a different hairstyle, and you have the eyes here. You know, again, this is just okay. I think the portrait is a little too masculine in terms of the features. Again, personal preference. You may disagree, but you know, again, I just think that the portrait could be a little softer, have a little more detail for my taste. So, you know, I think her, you know, I'm being critical, but I think her nose is a little too masculine appearing for her face. That's all I'll say about that without getting into too much detail. So this is the second, my second favorite portrait on the piece. And again, it's nice, but I think there are a couple of custom ones that are in the making that will do quite nicely with this. That's always the great thing about XM pieces. There's always going to be someone making a custom head. Now, you could argue, well, that means that they're not doing a great job with the originals, and certainly that's a point of contention of many. Okay, so now I'm going to put on the last portrait, which is the Artgerm portrait. Okay, back, and here's the third portrait. This is the Artgerm portrait. And I actually like this face the most. I think it's the most feminine face. Someone said, well, it's a little too anime. But I actually like the feminine features of it. It's a little softer. I don't love the hair, and I think that's my one problem with this portrait. And that's why it's my least favorite, is the hair to me is too flat. I'd almost like to combine this face with the other hairstyles, and I think you'd have the best possible portrait, but It's not going to happen. So again, very nice portrait, soft features, and you know, again, this is something that's, I'm going to have all 3 portraits available to switch out from time to time. So, all right, so let me finish up and get to my overall grade. So, overall, let me just start with the 4 categories. So for paint, you know, XM always nails the paint. 10 out of 10 on paint, no question about it. Sculpt, given the issues I have with the portraits, I can't give it a 10 out of 10 on Sculpt because I think the portraits could have been better. So on Sculpt, I'll give her a 9 out of 10. Just the rest of the piece is so spectacular that it really almost outweighs any negative detractions that I assign to the portraits. So, you know, 9 out of 10 on Sculpt. Production quality, as always with XM, I have yet to get a piece where the production quality is not 10 out of 10. So, tremendous production quality, tremendous packaging. Again, great weight to this piece, solid, feels heavy, and just really well put together. And finally, details. This one I'll give a 9 out of 10. I mean, the details are fantastic. You could say maybe there could have been a couple more details on her costume and a couple more wrinkles here and there. But I'm not gonna, those are quibbles, and real quibbles. And you know, there might have been a few more details on the portraits, on the gloves, etc. Again, these are very, very minor. It's still excellent for details. The base has got, you know, plenty of details on the base and on the with the wiring and whatnot throughout. Cracks in the, you know, you see the intensity of the Phoenix flame causing this reddish effect on the metal of the Sentinel. So lots of great details. This piece needs to slide in a little bit like that. Sometimes it likes to pop out, so you just got to make sure it sits flush. You can't really see it, but you know, this piece wants to, so you have to get it to sit flush there. You just got to have it sit. It's usually fine. Yeah, great piece. So overall grade, I'm going to finish the review. Overall grade on this XM Phoenix statue is, for me, about a 9 out of 10, or 9.5 out of 10. I'll be a little more generous. 9.5 out of 10. The only detraction I give it is for the portraits. And other than that, it's a beautiful piece. It will be staying in my collection for a long, long, long time. That's it. So feel free to post any comments, questions you guys may have. Otherwise, hope you guys are enjoying the weekend, and see you next time.